Hey guys, so you just listened to a read aloud of Each Kindness by Jacqueline Woodson that we have actually read together in 3rd grade. We read that at the beginning of the year as we were setting up our classroom expectations and procedures and our class contract with one another and kind of the expectations on how we would treat one another. And we pulled some ideas from that incredible book. And so we are looking at that book again today and this week for a very different reason. We are going to be switching back into the mindset of a persuasive writer or a persuasive author, where we are working to convince our reader to agree with us on an opinion that we have. But this week, our opinion is going to be about text that we have read, where we are going to be reading a variety of different texts and developing an opinion about what the author was trying to do when they wrote that specific text. And so we've just read Each Kindness, and I'm going to refer back to it a few times as we go through our mini lesson today. But I want you to go ahead and get started with me by going into your Canvas student app and going into your writing course. And I'm pausing to give everyone a couple of seconds to get caught up with me. And remember that mine is going to look just a tiny bit different than yours does. So my left-hand side bar does not look the same as yours anymore, but that's okay because today we are actually looking only at the week at a glance. So go ahead and scroll down to the writing week at a glance. And you'll see here that I have it organized by classes today because what we're doing is very new and very different. I wanted it to be as easy for you to follow along with as possible, since I won't be there to specifically guide you or to specifically ask your questions, although Mrs. Ledbetter is happy to help answer questions that you might have, but I should be answering a lot of those for you as we go through the video. So please make sure you have your listening eyes and ears on so that your eyes are focused on what I'm doing, so you're following along step by step, and your ears are listening to the step-by-step instructions I'll be giving you that you'll need to remember later. Okay, so I'm going to be using 3A as my example, but you're going to click your class link. And so for today, we're going to start with the first chunk of organization, going in order of the steps, and I'm going to click on 3A's Baby Literary Essay 1. And I'm going to go ahead and import this into Notability. So please go ahead and follow along. And I'm going to click Create a New Note. And I'm going to pause there until I know everyone is on this screen, because we're going to do something different. I'll give you about 10 more seconds. Okay, we're going to create a new subject. The note title already says Baby Literary Essay 1, and that's what we're going to leave that as, but we are going to create a new subject for this assignment, and the assignments we'll be working on this week. So up in this top corner, click New Subject, and you're going to type in Literary Essay. Choose a color you want, and I'm going to leave mine here for a few more seconds for everyone to get caught up, spelled correctly, typed correctly. If you're still trying to type at this point, please raise your hand and Miss Ledbetter will pause my video so that everybody can get caught up. Otherwise, I'm going to go ahead and move on. So raise your hand now if you're still trying to type. Okay, so now everyone should be caught up, and we're going to go ahead and click add. And we're making this a new subject, and we are going to import this into Notability. And I'm going to click done. I'm going to swipe out of Canvas. Well, I'm going to double tap. Don't swipe out. You're going to be going back to Canvas later in the morning. All right, so now I'm going into Notability. Oh, I apologize. And I'm going into the document that I just downloaded. Okay, so first things first, we're going to fill in the first little bit of information, and I'm going to actually choose a different color so that mine stands out for you. And let's go ahead and fill in this top portion with the information we know we need. So I'll give you about 30 seconds. Oh, today is February 1st. Happy February to everybody. Okay, you should have that part finished by now. And then the next part asks for the book and the author. And then underneath that, it says the mentor text I read. I'm going to give you permission to skip this line for now and skip this line for now. And we're going to answer it here where it calls it our mentor text. And so under the mentor text that I read, we're going to write down the title of the book that you just read. Each Kindness. It has two parts to its name, and each part gets a capital letter because it is a proper noun. And this book was written by Jacqueline Woodson. And while you are writing, I'm going to double check that I did not spell her name correctly. Okay, now you should have what you need. So you've got about 30 more seconds. Okay, so now everybody should have the top part of their paper filled out. And today we're going to just spend some time thinking about questions that writers ask. Because right now we are not readers, we are writers who happen to have read a book. And we're going to spend some time thinking about questions that writers ask about texts that they have read, and what writers do with that information. And so in this box, we've got some questions that I am going to read out loud to you. What does this text, which remember means do not highlight, I just want you to be able to see what I'm talking about. Every time the question refers to this text, we're talking about the book Each Kindness that we just read. So what does this text teach about the character? What does this text teach about life? What does the author, Jacqueline Woodson, want readers to know? What does this text make me realize? What surprises me about this text? What issues and life topics does this text connect to? What is the important thing about this text? questions writers ask about texts that they have read, and then what do I do with that information? And so for right now, we are just going to spend a few minutes working to answer one of these questions. And so right now, I want you to turn to a partner at your table group, and actually you can go ahead and just talk together as a whole table, and I'll give you about 30 seconds. And I want us to start with this first question. What does this text, Each Kindness, teach about the character? Turn and talk to your table. What do you think the answer to that question would be? Ready, set, go. Okay, go ahead and come back to me in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. I hope that as you were discussing with your table, you were mentioning things about the character Chloe, who is the main character of this story. And I hope that in your conversations, you and your table were mentioning things about it teaches that she learns to not be selfish. She learns that you don't always get second chances. She learns that even small kindnesses count. What did this text teach about the character? And so what we're going to do is we're going to look at a second question from this list, and we're going to break that down a little bit into some thoughts, and we're going to answer that question in this bottom box here. So what I want us to do now is we're going to together as we are right now, we're going to together think about this question. What does the author want readers to know? And now I'm going to scroll down to this second box, and I'm going to highlight it with pink so that you know we are thinking only about what I highlighted in pink up here in this first box. And we are going to make a claim. We are going to state a thought, state an answer to the question in the box above. What does the author want readers to know? You should not be highlighting right now. Your pencils and your pens should be still, and your eyes should be on my board for just a couple more minutes until I need you to follow along. In this next box, it says, use the question above to begin your thought, and then write your answer below. And I've given some little starter phrases to help us. We could say something like, I realized, I believe, in my opinion, to share our answer to this question. But I want you to notice what it says here. Using the question to begin your thought. So I'm actually going to come up here and borrow this question. What does the author want readers to know? And I'm going to rephrase that. I'm going to put that in new words to begin my answer. And so I might say something like, I believe So I'm borrowing this starter phrase. The author wants readers to know that, and this is where I need to make a decision. In my opinion, what do I feel like the author wanted readers to know by the end of the book, Each Kindness? What was Jacqueline Woodson wanting us to know by the end of that book? Turn to your table partners again. What do you think Jacqueline Woodson wanted readers to know by the end of the book, Each Kindness? Turn and talk. Okay, come back in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. I really wish I was there to hear what you were brainstorming together as a team. But let me share with you what I'm thinking the author wanted readers to know. And I want you to see if yours is similar to mine and kind of on the same track. I believe the author wants readers to know that kindness makes a difference in the world around us. I believe the author wants readers to know that kindness makes a difference in the world around us. Now, here's where you're going to pick up your pencil. You're now going to write your own claim in your box. If you want to copy what I've written here as an example to get us started, I am okay with you doing that today. If you and your table were talking about an idea that seems similar to what I've just put on my recording sheet, and you want to write down what you and your team thought of, I am fine with that, as long as it looks like you're on the right track with what I wrote down on mine. But I want you to remember that as you are writing down your claim, you are using the question to begin your thought, and you are rephrasing it as a statement. So instead of saying, what does the author want readers to know? The author wants readers to know, and then I finished my thought. So go ahead and jot down your answers here. And Miss Ledbetter, I'm going to ask for you to please pause the video now so that they can have about a minute or two to write down their claim. Okay, so you're coming back after a couple of minutes, and you should now have your claim written down in the second box of your first page in your recording sheet. And we're now going to scroll down to the second page, which is where you're going to copy your claim from the first page. Well, let's make this super easy. We're on Notability. Let's just go ahead and copy it instead of rewriting it. And there we go. I'm going to make mine kind of small because it's not going to fit exactly on these lines like it did in the other, and that works. So now I'm going to go back and recheck my instructions. Copy your claim from the first page. Done. On the Post-its. Okay, so now let me take a peek at this page. On the Post-it, so I see 4 Post-its on this page. I'm going to write 4 different pieces of evidence from the text that show how this claim, that's this part that I just wrote down. It's my idea, my opinion about that text and what the author's purpose behind that text could have been. And so, what part of the story proves that that might be true? So, I'm going to think back to the story, and I'm going to think, what happened in the story? What were character actions, character emotions, character words, quotes and phrases that were spoken? That proved to other people that this could be what the author wants us to know when we read this book. That kindness makes a difference in the world around us. Well, one of the biggest parts of the story that stands out to me that proves that statement is actually towards the middle of the book. When Miss Albert brought a big bowl into class filled with water, and everyone gathered around her and watched her drop a small stone into the water. Tiny waves rippled out away from the stone. And if you remember from the story, she then goes on and passes a stone out to every student. And every student thinks about a kind thing that they have done as they drop in the stone into the water and watch those ripples, those waves ripple out and away from the stone. This is what kindness does, she says. Each little thing we do goes out like a ripple into the world. Each little thing we do goes out like a ripple into the world. And so one of the things that stands out to me is when Mrs. Albert says this phrase. And so I'm actually going to copy that phrase into my first Post-it. Mrs. Albert says, that each little thing we do goes out like a ripple into the world. And so what I've done is I've gone through the story looking for a piece of evidence that shows how this statement, my claim can be or is most likely true. And if you think back to what we did with persuasive writing in the fall, we came up with reasons, facts, details, research that proved our opinion to be true to convince our reader. Well, we're doing the same thing. We're going and finding evidence from the actual book that shows how this claim could be true. And so what you're going to spend the rest of your time doing is you're going to fill in these other 3 Post-it notes with 3 more pieces of evidence in a complete sentence, not necessarily copied directly from the book. That was just my first example, and that was kind of a high-level example. Some of your other examples could be something as simple as Chloe regrets not being kind to Maya. Some of your examples could be Chloe can't think of one kind thing and passes the stone to the next person. It doesn't have to be something as big as this one that I found here. And it does not have to be word for word from the book. Mine was actually a quote that one of the characters said. But you're finding pieces of evidence from your memory that would prove to someone why our claim is true. Now, I am going to go ahead and ask you to pause and put your pencils down, and I'm going to walk you through what the next steps are going to look like as you work. Once you have completely finished this, you are going to submit. And actually, as I'm thinking about that, I don't know that it's going to have what we need it to show. Okay, you know what? I'll have us submit this on Thursday. So for now, don't worry about submitting. So here's what you'll do. Once you have completely finished your evidence on the 4 Post-it notes, you have your claim written on page 1 and page 2, answering one of our questions that writers ask about texts. You are then going to go back into Canvas, back to the writing week at a glance. You have already done the first baby literary essay step, depending on your class. And then under that, it says all classes. Now you're going to try one on your own. You're going to go into Epic, where I have sent an assignment or a collection called Literary Essay Picture Books. And I've assigned it to every student. If you can find that collection or that assignment easily, that means you can find it by yourself. Then choose one of the books from that collection, grab a pair of headphones if you need them, and you're going to just sit at your desk and you're going to read that book quietly or listen to it read to you quietly. If you cannot find the collection or the assignment in Epic, then look for one of these 4 titles: Those Shoes, Jabari Jumps, A Bad Case of Stripes, or Peter's Chair. Type it in and search for it, find it, read it. After you've read the one book you're going to read for today, you are going to download a second copy. So a brand new copy, you're going to download that into Notability. You're going to put it into our new subject that we created called Literary Essays. And after you've read the book, you're going to complete the new piece just like we did together for Each Kindness. So you are going to choose one of these questions that writers ask about texts. It does not have to be the one that we did as a class. You can now choose your own. I've noticed that some of these pop out to me bigger and bolder depending on the book I'm reading. So which one seems a bit more obvious to you or easier for you to answer based on the book that you read? Don't forget to put what book you've read and who it is by. Choose the question you're going to answer, and then in this box below, answer the question using the words from the question to start your answer. Then go into page 2, where you're going to copy your claim from page 1, and then on the 4 Post-its, you're going to give evidence from the text you just read that proves how your claim could be true. And that is what you will be working on for the rest of our class time today. I look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow and picking up where you've left off here. Good luck today. Do your best. Work hard. You know what I expect. And I will